People deluded. Now, Arsenal fans are special. Most football fans are special, but Arsenal fans are special. Like, I've made a video about this and a lot of you received it well. We can't talk in balance. Some people, before Unai Emery even took the job, they conceded that he's not the man. To some people, because Wenger stressed them out so much, they can't acknowledge possibly that Unai Emery is doing anything right or wrong. You see what I'm saying? People speaking agendas. Like, some people support players more than the club. Some people can't see what a player's done. Some people decide that the player's not good. It's too many agendas. And you need not speaking with balance or objectively. Now, I must admit there is another possibility, because some people that I've spoken to already weren't necessarily confident with Unai Emery's coming to the club, because they know kind of what he's about, his kind of pragmatic approach to football, and they wasn't necessarily happy with his appointment, and they've kind of been proven right. And I must admit, I still think he needs time to implement what he wants to do in terms of how he wants to play football, but to a degree I think it's a lazy excuse, because people can sit here and say he hasn't got his players, he hasn't got his players to implement how he wants to play football. That's nonsense. Now, Sarri and Pep, they obviously have more money and they're in a better position than Arsenal. But from day dot, you saw Pep Guardiola's philosophy. You could see that if he could grab a centre mid that can control the game, it would improve, sort of thing, or another couple ones. For me, anyways, the fullbacks, you could see if he gets some fullbacks of a better standard and a centre half, it's going to be there. Sarri, a better example. Obviously, they have richer attacking options and stuff like that, and probably in terms of depth, they're better defensive options. But you could see from day dot, they want to play progressive sort of football. Unai Emery, you haven't really seen that. And if you're honest, you could say he's actually implemented a way of football, because what I like about him, people are saying he needs time to improve us defensively, and that's true. We're not talking about the quality of these defenders. We know a lot of them are poor, but I think it's a lazy excuse, because we're making the same mistakes. Quickly, people were saying he couldn't implement playing out from the back from them first two games that we played against Chelsea and City. Forgive me if I'm wrong. He's got that, and them same people that were criticising him, and now calling him a messiah. So I think Unai Emery needs time. I'm prepared to give him time, to be honest. You can't just call for a man to be sacked. My issue is I don't believe in just blindly supporting players or blindly supporting a manager, regardless. Even if my manager is Pep Guardiola, you'd still have to question certain things as you see fit. In the same way he's implemented playing out from the back, in my opinion, he's made us, and it's not, for me, it's not spoken about enough. I think he's made us very good in terms of defending set pieces and taking advantage of set pieces. We've seen a variety of set pieces. Even when we Mustafi scored against Spurs, how we kind of pinned one of their players. I did a tactical review on it. So there's that. The counter-attacking, we've scored a lot of goals as well. So I think he's implementing something. But from what I see so far, I think it's too pragmatic to work in the Prem, even if he does get his players. Because for me, one criticism would be I think he's too defensive. I feel he has an internal fight within himself that he needs to address, because when he goes for it, he goes for it. I'm not saying gun-ho approach like Arsenal of years where we're trying to score 10 goals against you and we end up conceding 20. I'm not saying that. I'm not even talking about playing free at the back against Bate, because he did what he did in it. In hindsight, during the game, he could have changed it, but probably a bit too defensive against sides that we don't need to be. Big games as well. Obviously, I believe you need balance. You need to think about their strengths as well as yours, but I feel we sit back too much. And when you look at games against where we've played well against Chelsea, I keep saying it on my vids, Chelsea at home, Liverpool in the draw, there's another one, Spurs in the victory. When we're pressing consistently and stuff like that from defence to front, we're doing our thing. Our proactive approach in defending, it's not improving. We know these players are not good enough, but some of the mistakes you're seeing these players make week in, week out. And again, these players have to take the majority, but he's been there 8 months. We heard all this video analysis stuff. Are you actually showing them what they're doing right or wrong? I personally would just like to see that I wouldn't say moving in the right direction. I would just like to see, if we're still making the crap defensive mistakes, then cool. But if we're getting into the right position, if people are starting to tuck in a bit quicker, close down a bit quicker, shuffle across, pick up men a bit quicker sort of thing, then we say, all right, cool. He needs better defenders, which he does, but he needs better defenders because he's trying. These players just aren't good enough. We actually haven't seen that, if we're completely honest with ourselves. Unai Emery's done a lot of good in my opinion, but also there's a lot of question marks. Again, there's a lot for him to do even in one season, so I'm not calling for everything. But in terms of a style of play, I don't see it. And a lot of people attribute style of play with attacking and bravery. It's also as well the defensive side. I see him a bit too negative for a man that was speaking about protagonists and I'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0. I'm not seeing anything to suggest such. Like I said, he's still my man. I give him a lot of time. But and also on the topic of being proactive, you're still seeing the same mistakes. It doesn't matter if it was against Brighton away, United at home in the FA Cup, or United away for Kohler's mistake. What was it? Huddersfield is not Huddersfield. What was the goal we conceded where Kohler's kicking it into the back of his own net? There's that. There's Liverpool away and home. Liverpool's mistake. Liverpool's goal, Milner's goal, where we're not tracking runners. Midfield aren't tracking runners. Fullbacks aren't aware. Or even if you see Lingard and Firmino when they've scored against us within 3 touches, the players have to take blame. But at the same time, when we're conceding these goals, you need to look at the build-up. What's actually happened? Players are out of position. Kohler, clearly in Unai Emery's system, the fullbacks are essentially the wingers. Yeah, cool. To that degree, if the fullbacks are going to be the wingers, we need to mitigate against Kohler's poor defensively, because I think he's very bipolar in the sense that Kohler's one of the best attacking fullbacks in the Prem for me, but he's also defensively one of the worst. So we need to attribute that. Against United, like you saw against Bate, he's one of our best attacking options. But how did Lukaku assist Lingard's goal? He took advantage of the space. That space that was left because Kohler went up there was then Koscielny having to be dragged across. You've also seen Monreal fall victim to that as well. In terms of defending, like I said, we're not closing down men enough and we're not sniffing danger. Again, the players have to take a lot of blame. But if he's able to implement certain things quickly, there's no way he can't do that. You can't sit here when in an 22 or 20 odd unbeaten run and say he's installing grit, fight, determination, and almost not praise the players. The players do deserve some of the praise, but when it's on the other hand, just blame the players and not the manager. When we win or lose or draw or whatever happens, it's never just down to one man's actions. We win together, we lose together. The players, away from Unai Emery, clearly the players have to take a lot of the blame because they're making these silly mistakes. But at the start of the season, you heard how they're adapting and things like this. Even Mustafi, when Mustafi's playing everybody on the side against Manchester City, come on, like, he has to take blame because that's ultimately brainless defending. But at the same time, is Unai Emery not going through these things with them? Do you see what I'm saying? And they're not. It's not like certain players are being dropped, defensive players are being dropped to learn from these things. So yeah, I think he's doing a lot of right, but I just feel people are just not looking at it just objectively. Like, I think he's done a lot right, and I think there's a lot of question marks. I like the fact that he doesn't necessarily care for players, because when he does have his system or does have his players, it doesn't matter who plays and who starts. He might say, okay, 1 week you're good against Chelsea. We need to be more attacking against Chelsea, so I'll play you players. We need to be a bit more defensive against City, so I'll go 3 at the back and you lot will come in. You see what I'm saying? We might need pace, so you will come in. We might need this, so you come in. That's what I like. It's a squad game, but by that same token, we're not doing enough. Also, I can't not talk about the backdrop of him and Ozil, or whoever's right or whoever's wrong. I would just like to see that dealt with as well, people, to be fair with you. Ultimately, my biggest issue is I actually feel we're too negative, and we've been like that for about 2 years, to be fair, but I just feel we're too negative anyways, and I feel his tactics have been negative. I don't really feel for someone that was talking about protagonist, I don't feel he's actually doing that, to be fair. I actually feel like the tactics at times border on cowardly. And even when we was on that unbeaten run, we was papering through cracks, because you look at the Fulham game, all the times we're making changes at half-time and things like that. It's great when, don't get me wrong, if he sees that his own tactics or the players aren't doing anything right, I love that he flips and he makes changes and things like that. Ironically, I wish he did that against Bate. But by the same token, when we were papering over the cracks and we was getting the rub of the green, when you look back at it, could it have been how it was? Are you a good I'm not saying he's not. I'm just asking you the question. Are your tactics necessarily right if consistently, week in, week out, you're having to make subs at half time? You're having to do certain things. Are you necessarily setting them out the right way? And when you look at it, go and look at the minutes we've scored a lot of goals. There's been times, how many times, Huddersfield at home, 83rd minute. Fulham, we turned it around in the second half. Cardiff, we got away with it in a 3-2. Cardiff at home, we got away with it in 2-1. Huddersfield could have got something out the game. When you look at these games, again, the players have to take the bulk of the blame, because they're just poor. But at the same time, I feel people don't look at it objectively enough. And my big thing is, I think Unai Emery, if he's going to make a success of this, regardless of if he has his players or not, I think he's got to be bolder, to be honest. He showed his boldness and bravery, whether you agree with it, because he's shaking things up. Without talking about the whole contract stuff and all the things about it, Ozil's been dropped out the side. Aubameyang and Lacazette pushing and pulling and stuff when we were saying to start both. So he's not afraid to make big decisions, to be fair with you. But by the same token, When you're like, I can't understand it, because you can't say, certain fans were saying when he was going on the win, he's this, he's that, and now we're losing or not in the best of run of form, seven defeats in 14. You can't ask any questions of the manager. Surely that's wrong, people. I'm not blaming the manager solely. I'm not blaming anyone. I just believe if we win, lose, or draw, you critique or you praise fairly. And I don't, even guys like Mustafi's poor at the moment. Mustafi's been poor, but when we was winning, he deserved his praise. You see what I'm saying, people? And I just feel fans talk with too much agendas, too much things to gain from sticking to a certain point. And I know football brings out the most primary instincts in people, but it's silly. Nothing's going to get done, or you're harming yourself if you can't look objectively. I mean, like I said, to some people, Unai Emery can do no wrong, and to some people, he's the best. He's the worst manager ever, to be fair. And that goes for a lot of the players speaking with agendas. Like, I keep saying Mustafi. I feel Mustafi cannot benefit this club in any way, shape, or form. If he has a good game, I'll praise him. And to be honest as well, excluding from Mustafi, it's just come to my head. I wasn't planning on saying this. One big thing has to have been on Unai Emery improving players. I feel he's improved some players. I'm not going to say any that I believe. I just want to provoke a thought in you guys. If you could comment which players you feel he's improved, keywords improved, people, and which players actually you could say suit a certain system or the system caters to them. Because honestly, but even Torreira, you look at how he played at Sampdoria, you look at how he plays in the Uruguay squad. I don't even think he necessarily has a system at Arsenal, or has a sort of job. I just think Torreira is there. Clearly, he drops the deepest because he's the most defensive-minded and things like that. But I wouldn't say necessarily has a role within the side if you look at it. I know the smart football fans will understand what I'm saying there, people. I just think we lack balance. I think there's just too many finger-pointing at one individual when you've got to look at it. I mean, if City were to win the Champions League next week, obviously they can't really get the point. It's not